How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Chaos Child. So, the end of 2 episodes ago, the last little bit of, episode 55, maybe? Yeah, 55, I think, is when we started Kirisu's route, and in the last episode, which would have been 56, I might be really wrong with my episode numbers here. It's really hard to keep track, but I think going through episode 56, we teamed up with Kirisu, kind of, and I guess got rid of Serika for the time being, and we saved her from being the victim of November 4th, the last day of the New Generation Madness, and instead the victim was Sakuma. You know, big bad Sakuma, the villain, or at least the main antagonist of the Common Red, excuse me. And now, here we are, a few days after that, I believe, and we needed a new home. And I guess we're getting that right now. So let us continue on here with Kirisu's route. None of us were sure what to say when Momose took us to our new place.
ここですか?
It was an old rundown apartment building that had clearly been built at least 30 years ago.
条件が条件だし、見つかっただけよしとしてちょうだい。
大丈夫よ、タクル。見た目はちょっとあれだけど、設備はちゃんとしてるし、それに住めば都って言うじゃない？
そうだよ、タクル兄ちゃん。みんなで一緒にいられるなら少しくらい古くても。
私も十分素敵なところだと思います。
Everybody was trying to stay positive, but I wasn't worried about the age of the building or the condition of the room.
違うんだよ。そういうことじゃないんだ。
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of another location.
そういうことじゃないって。じゃあ、タクルは何を気にしてるの？
それは。
やれやれ。昼間っから随分とうるさいと思ったら。何の冗談だ、これは。
The closed door had opened and Kunosato came out.
クノサトさん、どうしてここに
？Kirisu moved between Kunosato and Yuto as she spoke. This was bad. These two didn't get along. And of course, that was only because Kunosato hated us for no reason.
挨拶なり、菓子折りの一つでも持ってくるならまだしも。後から来ておいて、随分な態度だな。
後から？ねえ、タクル、それどういうことなの？
それはつまり、この部屋の隣が彼女の部屋っていうか。
お隣？
I nodded silently. Kirisu grabbed Yuto's hand and headed for the door. Wow.
ユト、行くわよ。ほら、ウキちゃんも。
のの姉ちゃん。
クルス、行くってどこへだよ。
決まってるでしょ。あんな人の隣だなんて。
Yamazoe was standing in the center of the room fidgeting.
ここを出て行ってくれるのは、こちらとしても非常にありがたい話だが、行き先はあるのか？
あなたには関係のないことです。
Seeing Kunosato had caused the blood to rush to Kirisu's head.
落ち着けよ、クルス。冷静になれ。
だってタクル、あなただって知ってるでしょ？この人がどういう人か。
それは分かってるけど、ここを出たところでその後どうするんだよ。
あなたが住んでたあの車にでも行くわよ。
ユウトやウキもいるのにか？
それは。
Let's just leave them here.
悪かったわね。でも他になくてさ。
Momose looked a little upset to see how poorly Kirisu and Kunosato got along. Only when she saw that Only when she saw that did Kirisu let go of Yuto's hand, excuse me.
のの姉ちゃん、僕たち行くところなくなっちゃうの？
ごめんね。大丈夫よ。私がどうかしてた。
She gently patted Yuto on the head and turned to Kunasato.
でも言っておきますけど、あくまでも隣に住んでるだけですから。タクルやウキに実験とかおかしなことしようとしたら黙ってませんからね。
それはこちらのセリフだ。大勢で騒いだりしたら容赦なく壁を殴りつけるからな。それからドアの外でばったり顔を合わせたりするのもごめんだ。私が廊下に出た時には出てくるんじゃないぞ。
Kunasato turned and walked back down the hall to her own room, her footsteps creaking on the wooden floor.
本当に何なのよあの人。
It's been a little bit, but what exactly is their deal? Like, what happened? I know there was that little tussle that Takuru and Kunasato had in the club room that one time. Kirisu stuck her tongue out at the closed door. Was she a little kid? But it was rare to see Kirisu acting like a little kid. In a sense, Kunasato had a unique talent for bringing that side of Kirisu out.
すまないわね。
That's all good.
いいえ、こちらこそすみません。わざわざ面倒見てもらったのに。
あの子もいろいろ事情があるのよ。勘弁してやってちょうだい。
Problems. Only then did I wonder for the first time why Kunasato was so obsessively pursuing the case. She was originally a brain scientist, supposedly, but I doubt she'd tell me if I asked.
おいお前ら、人に手伝いさせて何のんびりしてんだ。少しは自分たちで運べ。
あ、すみません。すぐやります。ほら、タクル。
あ、うん。
Poor Shinjo, man. Once Shinjo and Momose finished carrying everything in, they left and we were alone. Kirisu had split up the work for the move. But this wasn't a big room, and we had a lot of people. We couldn't bring in most of the furniture, and even if we did, there'd be no place to put it. In the end, we only brought clothes, daily necessities, and a few mementos, so it wasn't too much work. So what will happen with everything else? My internet was set up, so at least I had that. That is a plus. A necessity, if you will. You know, I'm totally all down for like the small rooms and living environments that the Japanese have. I'm totally down with it. I'm not exactly like in need of wide-ass open space, but what bothers me is having to like lose things if you're going from a big space to a small space. So I really hope that they brought everything that was important and they didn't have to make too many big sacrifices, but in their situation, I totally get it. And I'd be more than happy to live in an environment like this if I had no other choice. It's better than living out on the streets. Kirisu stood in the kitchen, filling a pot with water, excuse me. She put the pot on the burner and turned on the gas.
ご飯おそばでいいわよね。
それ知ってます。引っ越しそばと言うんですよね。
Hey, she's wearing the fancy clothes that we got her in her route, in that delusion.
ええ。本当はお隣にも持っていくものなんだけど。
I guess it was also outside of the delusion too. Kunasato was our next door neighbor. Even if we did take it, I doubted she'd eat it.
おそば。
ユウトはカレーとかハンバーグとか食べたかったかしら。
おそばでいいよ。
そう、ごめんね。
私手伝います。
ありがとう。それじゃあ食器の用意をしてくれるかしら。それからテーブルを拭いて。
He said he didn't mind soba, but a kid Yuto's age must have wanted to eat something different. But he was probably trying not to cause a fuss because of how little money he had, or we had, excuse me. And Yamazoe was trying to find her own role in the family. But
ごちそうさまでした。
お粗末様でした。
We'd found a place to live, but there was still so much to worry about. If I was just trying to survive on my own, like I had been in the RV, I would have been fine. But now things were different. We had to survive on our own now, with no one's protection. How long would we be able to keep this up? I had no clear vision of the future. I realized once more how much it meant for Dad to take us in. Well, he had other plans, so...
タクル、大丈夫？ご飯足りた？
あ、うん、もう十分だ。
明日からはもうちょっとちゃんとしたご飯作るからね。
I wasn't really worried about that, but I nodded anyway.
それじゃあ、お腹もいっぱいになったことだし、改めまして。
Kidisu sat up straight.
今日からここが私たち家族の家です。
なんだよ、いきなり。
新しい生活にあたって初心表明みたいなものよ。
そんなの別にいらないだろう。
Now, optimism is important, Takuru. Come
け
on.
じめは大切よ。
That was just like Kidisu, though.
さて、新しい生活を始めるにあたって一つだけ約束。
約束？
そう。と言っても前と同じよ。家族の間で隠し事はしないこと。これだけは守ってほしいの。もう二度と家族がバラバラにならないように。
クルス。
It felt like an expression of her resolve to me. She never wanted me to leave her again.
うん、わかった。約束する。
私も約束します。
タクルは？
ああ、約束する。
よろしい。それじゃあみんな、改めてよろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
I missed the RV. And thus our new life began. I don't know why we can't just go back to the RV. Like, are we really needed here? Like, sure, family is family, but would it be a little easier for them if it was just, you know, the three
ユ
of
ウと
them?
ったらもう眠そう。そうよね。今日はユウとも頑張ってくれたもんね。
I apologize for my dull and negative outlook on
お
life.
風呂入ったら寝ましょうか。
Fortunately, as beat up as the apartment was, it had its own bath and toilet. To be fair, there weren't that many public baths left lately. An apartment building without baths and toilets wouldn't make it. I looked at the clock and it was just past 9. Ooh, it felt like a long day. I was gonna make a really bad joke, but I'm glad I didn't. Living in the same room as other people meant that you couldn't set the pace of your own day. I'd realized that just over these few hours. I'd lived with others before, but I'd always had my own personal space. Here, though, I didn't. If I wanted my own space, I'd have to leave. Of course, I couldn't ask for too much right now. And anyway, I felt a kind of peace here.
タクル、お風呂をお先にいただいたわ。あなたも入ったら？汗かいたでしょ？
あ、僕はいいよ。
ダメよ。そんな汚れた体でお布団へは入らせません。
I used to find Kidisu annoying at times like this. But now... Okay, this is the part that I would not like, is sleeping in the same room with people. Always disliked it, I'm sorry.
二人ともよっぽど疲れてたのね。横になった途端寝ちゃった。
We'd never all slept together on the floor like this before.
なあ、クルス。
大丈夫よ。父さんもいなくなって、この先どう生活していこうって言うんでしょ？
なんで？
タクルの言いたいことくらいわかるわ。だって私はあなたの家族、お姉さんだもの。
クルス。
まだそう呼ぶんだね、私のこと。いいのいいの。ただできればいつかね、 元の呼び方に戻ってくれたらいいなってね。ごめん。とにかくね、こうやって家族みんなで力を合わせていけばきっと大丈夫。なんとかなる。私がなんとかしてみせるわ。
Honestly, for me, it's just habit. And this has been a problem with me for every game that I play, and it's usually why I get mixed up between first and last names. Whatever the main character calls someone, I tend to call them that as well. It's just how it is, and I just can't break that habit easily. Such as, like, in Grisaya, there was one character that I'd always call her by her last name. However, when her dad came into the picture, I had to call her by her first name so that I wouldn't confuse myself and others. And then there was Steins Gate. I'm pretty sure there was someone there that was referenced by their last name. Was there? And I just never called them by their first? Maybe. I mean, there's Arimura in this case. I'd always call her Arimura instead of Hinae.
だから。
Sorry, but that's just my weird way of commentating and remembering names. It was as if she was talking to herself. Having everyone together in that old home had been really important to Kirisu. I realize now that she was probably the one who was most hurt when I left. And also the one who was most nervous now.
家族か。
え？
なんでもないよ。おやすみ。
おやすみなさい。
Would we be able to be a family again here? I almost said the words, but was too embarrassed. But listening to everyone snore next to me brought me a great deal of peace. Yeah, see, that would bring me a great deal of annoyance.
タクルったら起きなさい。
See, this is what I would hate. One person gets up and wakes everybody else up by them being
しょ
awake.
うがない。こうなったら。タクル、起きろー！やっと起きた。
なんだよ、大声出して。びっくりするだろ。
Nah, I thought she threw us out of the
いつま
futon.
で経ってもあなたが起きないからでしょ。
だからってそんな起こし方。
Huh? Wait, why was Kirisu waking me up? In this room?
タクル兄ちゃん起きるの遅い。
みんなとっくに起きちゃってますよ。
ああ、そっか。
That's right, we were all living here now. Literally under the same roof.
それにしても、どうせ起こすならもっと優しく起こしてくれればいいだろう。
何言ってるの。最初はやってたわよ。ねえ。
のの姉ちゃん最初はすっごーく優しい声だったよ。
それでもタクルさんがなかなか起きないから。
Evidently, it was 3 versus 1.
それより朝ごはんできるからお布団片付けて用意して。
あ、僕は朝ごはんは。
ダメ。朝ちゃんと食べないと元気出ないんだから。ほらほら。
I have breakfast in the afternoon because of my dumbass sleep schedule. I still wanted to sleep, but she took my futon from me.
ち。
Yamazoe was looking at us as if she found something strange.
何？
いえ、そうしてると本当の兄弟みたいだなって。
あら、だって家族だもん。普通のことよ。
家族ですか。
そうよ。もちろんウキちゃん、あなたも。
私も。
Yamazoe smiled, embarrassed. Kirisu looked happy to see her that way too. I feel like really nervous because this is just another one of Chaos Child's ways of just making us feel nice and comfortable, like everything is good in the world, like all the bad stuff is gone now. You know, Sakuma's dead, who knows where Sarika is. The Return of the New Generation madness is pretty much done. And now we have a nice new home that we're, snuggling into. But I know eventually some wacky and horrible shit is gonna happen. And of course it's wacky because, Chaos Child. After breakfast, I used my Pokecom to look for information on the murders. I'd been too busy lately to check. Excuse me, but I was sure there must have been some developments. Excuse me again. I still hadn't been able to go to the police about Serika. I probably should have told Shinjo already, but I just couldn't figure out why Serika would do something like that. Chirisu had said that she'd done it for me, but if that was true, then it meant that I was basically the one who'd killed Yui and Dad. Was it okay to make Serika suffer for that alone? And why did Serika think that that's what I wanted anyway? Was that really what I had wanted? No, that was impossible.
できた
Chirisu had been playing with a roll of fabric.
何を作ってたんですか？
カラーボックスのところにカーテンがあった方がいいと思って。ほら、食器とかむき出しだとホコリかぶっちゃうでしょ。それからこっちはドアノブとティッシュのケース。こういうちょっとしたものでもあるだけでお部屋の中が明るくなるでしょ。
本当ですね。
Chirisu was steadily turning the room into a place to live. I doubt I would have ever thought about any of those things, but it was true that having them here made the room feel much more like home.
私にもできるでしょうか？
もちろんよ。教えてあげるから一緒に作りましょう。
はい。
Yamazoe had said that we looked like brother and sister, but she and Chirisu looked like a pair of sisters too.
ユウトは何してるんだ？
勉強、学校の。
見てやろうか。
いいの？
まあ、たまにはな。
There was nothing for me to do here anyway. And...
それじゃあ、ここを教えて。
Are you winning, son? For now, I wanted to treasure this peaceful time.
何？
なんでもない。
なんだよ。
だからなんでもないってば。
Yeah, didn't you listen, you fucking idiot? Weirdo. Why is that our response?
そういえばクルス、学校はいいのか？
Also, why was I so angry? After everything that had happened, and then moving on top of it all, we hadn't had time for school. Neither of us had been in a while. Of course, the school was being understanding, but we couldn't skip school forever.
もう、何人事みたいに言ってるのよ。それはタクルもでしょ。
だって僕と違って、クルスには生徒会があるだろ。いつまでも休んでいられないんじゃないか。
Kawahara can handle it.
生徒会のことは川原くんに任せたから平気よ。
Told you.
どっちにしても、もうすぐ任期も終わりだしね。それに、この状況で私たちだけが学校に行くわけにもいかないでしょ。
Let's just bring them with. It'll be fun. That was true, it wouldn't be right to go and leave Yuto and Yamazoe behind. But I couldn't send Kirisu on her own either. There was no telling when Serika might come.
ねえ、タクル。
At least we're being mindful of Serika.
セリカのことだけど。
Hearing her name from another person's mouth made me tense. I didn't want to believe she was the killer. But the way she'd been acting, and the way that she tried to kill Kirisu, those were both real.
考えてみれば、私、セリカのこと何も知らないの。
は？何言ってんだよ。クルスだって仲良かっただろ。甘いものが好きで、グレープフルーツジュースが好きで、ちょっと天然入ってて。
Sarah's getting a drink. Yeah, she might be a bit of an airhead, but that's all an act.
そういうことじゃなくてね。住んでるところとか、両親のこととか。
Well, I got news for you.
確か、セリカも地震で怪我したのよね。その時、ご両親は？
それは。
ご両親は生きているのよね。何をしている人？会ったことは？タクル、あなた子供の頃から知ってるんでしょ？ 普通それくらい付き合いが長ければ家に行ったことくらいあるものじゃない？
Well, wait a minute. Doesn't Kirisu know the truth? That Serika's not real? Wasn't that brought up in the last episode? I mean, I did record the last episode at like 2 in the morning, so it's really hard to say. I was stunned. Serika and I had been together for years, but I didn't know anything about her parents or her house. They'd never come to the school field day or parent-teacher meetings. She never talked about them, and I never brought them up. But they should have at least come up in a conversation a few times. I didn't even remember that. In fact, I didn't even have any photos of her from when she was a kid.
少し調べてみないといけないかもしれないわ。セリカのこと。
I mean, that's what we did in the common route. November 11th, 2015, Wednesday. Is the festival already
お
over?
邪魔します。
あら新庄ちゃん、いらっしゃい。
Momose Katsuko smiled as Shinjo Takeshi came into her office.
あらあら、相変わらず陰鬱なオーラ背負ってるわね。たまには気分転換しないと。って言っても、まあ無理な話よね。
これでも内心密かにタフなハードボイルドに憧れてたりするんですがね。
Shinjo was unconsciously patting his belly with his left hand. He was nursing a nasty upset stomach.
ほら、ちょうどやってるわよ。
Momose pointed at the TV where a news show was doing a panel on the murders. You could probably find the same topics on every channel.
それではここまでの流れをもう一度見てみましょう。渋谷を震撼させていたニュージェネの狂気の再来事件は容疑者逮捕により一旦はピリオドを打たれたものと思われておりました。しかし11月4日、6年前ドキュンパズルと呼ばれた事件が起きた日付と同じ日に再び殺人事件が発生。さらには一連の事件の容疑者として先日逮捕された少年が昨日になり一転して容疑を否認。全ての殺人に対し無罪を主張したという情報が入りました。これにより一部では警察による誤認逮捕の可能性を指摘する声が上がっていますが、
もしもこれが誤認逮捕であれば大問題ですね。何せ相手は未成年です。
Who the hell did they arrest?
それに無実の人間を殺人犯として扱ったわけですから。
すでに一部の人権団体からも非難の声が上がっているようですが、
そうした声は今後ますます大きくなるでしょうね。
Just like the commentator on TV had said, the public had already turned against the police. Shinjo and the rest of the force's reputation was in the gutter. No, he'd be lucky if it was just damage to his reputation. At some point, he'd probably be asked to resign.
あんたも大変ね。
まったくです。これで伊藤真二が保釈済みだってことを知れた日にゃ。
そう。保釈されたんだ。
ええ。久野里さんが手を尽くしてくれましてね。脳の機能も改善されてきました。
Well, that's positive news.
問題は、今まで伊藤君本人が頑なに自分が犯人だと主張してたからこそ一家も取り合っていたんですが、久野里さんから彼が洗脳状態だったという最終報告が出た。しかも過去の事件の微細証拠物件と伊藤君の DNA を照らし合わせると、伊藤君を犯人とするには噛み合わない部分が多すぎる。
でも保釈だなんて思い切ったわね。もしことが公になってマスコミがそのことを嗅ぎつけでもしたら、それこそまずいんじゃないの？
その懸念でしたら当面は大丈夫かと。
というと？
伊藤君はまだ病院に入院中ですから保護観察中に見えるはずです。
ああ。
だいぶ良くなりましたが、まだ脳に異常な負荷がかかっているのは事実です。
異常な負荷ね。
俺には専門的なことはよくわからないんですが、 以前はとても正気を保っていられないような数値だったそうで。まあそんなわけでこれ幸いとばかりに面会謝絶ってことにしてます。
なるほどね。ついでだから新庄ちゃんもちょっと入院してくれば？相当疲れてるみたいよ。休んでないでしょ？
確かに。せめて人間ドックにでも。
Shinjo rubbed his stomach without laughing. His phone went off in his pocket. He took out his phone and looked at the name on the screen.
宮代くんだ。
あら。
Back to the stress.
もしもし、新庄だが。どうした？何かあったのか？
It seemed like he wasn't going to get that physical anytime soon. Nope. I need to get my physical. I know that for a fact.
いらっしゃ。お主か。
I still don't understand what the deal is with this character. I went to the place Shinjo suggested and was greeted by the same rude waitress as always.
ぼっちか。
いや、その待ち合わせを。
I looked around and saw Shinjo in the back. He was looking out the window and rubbing his stomach. I nodded to the waitress and went to sit with him.
ああ、来たな。
この前はどうもお世話になりました。
ああ、そういうのはいい。それより話ってのは？
Even now, I wasn't sure if I should tell Shinjo about Sarika. Shinjo frowned.
こっちとら商売繁盛でね、仕事が山積みで正直時間が足りないんだよ。こうして過ぎていく一秒一秒の積み重ねだって惜しいわけなんだが。
すみません。
I looked at Shinjo's cup and saw that it was filled with milk. From the way he was rubbing his stomach, he might be feeling sick. I couldn't call him all the way out here and then just tell him it was nothing.
ですね。
But how to ask?
理由は聞かずに尾上セリカのことを調べてほしいって言ったらやってもらえますか？
尾上さんを？
He looked at me appraisingly. A moment later, he shook his head a little. He'd grown a little chin stubble.
君と尾上さんの間に何があったのかはよく知らないが、こちらもつい先日、狼少年にこっぴどく痛めつけられたばかりだ。理由もなしに警察を動かせと言われてもな。
A boy who cried wolf. It was obvious who he was talking about. I'd seen on the news that Ito had suddenly switched to proclaiming his innocence. The festivals had continued on at Chan's news board ever since the first report, and the threads were still popping up even now. I could imagine that things were tense at the police station right now.
そういうのは本来、探偵やら更新所に頼むべきことだろ。
それは、おっしゃる通りだと思います。
だったら、理由くらいは話してもらおうか。
What should I do? Even if Shinjo did look into Sarika without asking me any questions, if he found something, the result would be the same. But I still couldn't bring myself to tell him, from my own lips, that Sarika might be the killer.
しょうがないな。
Shinjo saw that I wasn't going to say anything inside.
尾上セリカの身の上を調べりゃいいんだな。
やってもらえるんですか？
乗りかかった船だ。それに今は可能性があるなら何でもやっておきたい。
理由は？
そんなもん今さらどうとでもなるさ。潰れる面目は全部潰しちまったしな。ただしもしそれによって何か疑わしいことが出てきたら止められるという保証はないぞ。それでもいいんだな。
I could tell from the way he spoke that he wasn't joking.
はい。
There was no turning back now. I said it aloud so that I could hear it too. Wait, you actually have to speak up in order to hear yourself?
ただいま。
かえり。
Kirisu welcomed me with a smile when I opened the door. Excuse me.
タクル兄ちゃん、おかえり。
おかえりなさい。
Yuto was sitting at his desk doing schoolwork. Yamazoe seemed to be studying too. Both of them looked up at the same time. I'd lived with other people at Alba Dorm, but we'd all had our own rooms. I felt a little weird to hear "Welcome home" as soon as I walked through the door. But it wasn't a bad feeling at all.
頼まれてたのこれでいいんだよな。
ありがとう。
I handed Kirisu the ingredients for dinner that she'd asked me to pick up before I left.
何？
なんでもない。
Kirisu didn't ask where I'd been going when I left, but I was sure she could guess. She probably wanted to know how it had gone, but she wasn't asking for my sake.
それでよかったんだよな。
え？
頼まれてた買い物。
こんにゃくとお豆腐と、あれ？ねえタクル、これは？
ユウトたちだってたまにはお菓子くらい食べたいだろ。
お菓子？
Yuto stood up when he heard the word snacks. His face broke into a huge grin when he saw the value-sized pack of Yat Cats in Kirisu's hands. The hell are that?
やった、チョコレートだ。ありがとうタクル兄ちゃん。ほらウキ姉ちゃん、チョコだよ、チョコ好き？
God damn, Yuto, calm down. So Yat Cats are chocolate?
ねえのの姉ちゃん、チョコ食べてもいい？
お勉強が終わったらね。
やったー、早く勉強終わらそう、ウキ姉ちゃん。
The two of them sat down at the desk and began to study even harder than before.
もうダメよタクル。この先私たちの生活もどうなるかわからないんだから、無駄遣いしちゃう。
わかってるけど、たかがチョコレートだろ。
たかがの積み重ねがそのうち大きく。
Kirisu stopped and shook her head.
そうね。タクルの言う通りかもしれないわね。何事もダメじゃ息が詰まっちゃう。こういう時だものね。少しくらい心の余裕がないと。
クルス？
何？
いや、なんでもない。
It seemed like she'd changed since she'd come here. I was gonna say that, but I stopped.
変なの。
When she smiled, it was a little more peaceful than the smile I was used to seeing. Maybe I thought I'd known everything about Kirisu, but I hadn't known anything at all. I never know anything. I got the call from Shinjo that night.
信じたくはないだろうが、まず間違いない。
そうですか。わかりました。
After I heard what Shinjo had to say, I staggered back to the apartment. What did he have to say? When I arrived, Kirisu had just gotten out of the bath and was drying her hair with a towel.
タクル？どこ行ってたの？お風呂から上がったらいなくなってるから、ちょっと心配し。タクル？
尾上が。
I couldn't say the rest of it. Yuto and Yamazoe were asleep. Damn. They hell asleep all the time, bro. I wish I had that ability, but I didn't want to talk about it in front of them. Oh, they can easily get to sleep is what I'm trying to say. Kirisu stood up, slowly walked over, and held me tight. Is she dead? She slipped her hands around my back and patted me gently like a child. I felt like she'd been doing this all the time lately. But for now, I just wanted to let her do it.
クルス。尾上が。尾上は。
Say it already.
大丈夫よ。今は何も言わなくても。落ち着いてからでいいから。
クルス。
Shinjo had seemed reluctant when I talked to him, but he'd acted fast after I left, The police must have been getting desperate. They wanted to make up for the mistake they'd made with Ito as fast as possible. Shinjo had persuaded his superiors and gone to search Serika's home. What he'd found there was absolute darkness, both concerning her and everything about her. That's what he said. There were signs that Onoe Serika had lived there, but there were no signs of her parents. There was, however, a body. It was the body of the person who had originally lived there. Serika had killed the home's original owner, hid the body, and taken their place? What? Hold up, that was never brought up in the common route. That's what he'd said. And no one found out. No one ever thought like, oh yeah, this person that I saw living here yesterday, I don't know where he is. I wanted to tell him that he must be joking. I wanted to scream that he was lying. I was the one who'd asked him to do it, and to some degree I'd expected this. But hearing the truth felt like someone was cutting out my heart with a knife.
私じゃダメ？私じゃダメ？私がセリカの代わりにずっとあなたのそばにいてあげる。それじゃあダメ？それとも私じゃセリカの代わりにはなれない？
I feel like there's some selfishness here, and I've always had that like feeling with Kirisu, which has been kind of like why I never really liked her all that much. I mean, I get it, like, you know, family this, family that. She just wants what's best for her family, but, you know, there's obviously just a little bit more there with Takuru, I strongly believe, from her perspective, I'm sure. I realized clearly, my home was here. This is where my heart belonged. Here with Yuto and Yamazoe and...
ありがとう。Nono.
There it is. I knew it was going to come at some point. It was bound to come up. And I'm still going to call her Kirisu. Now give us a big ol' kiss. When I finally said her name, she just nodded without saying a word. Come on.
炊飯器でケーキが焼けるなんて知りませんでした。
実は炊飯器ってご飯が炊けるだけじゃなくていろんなことに使えるのよ。
Wow, in the span of a minute we went from like, oh yeah, Serika totally killed this guy that lived here and you know, is probably the killer, and Takuru finally being able to say Kirisu's first name, to, wow, you can do this with a rice cooker?
のの姉ちゃんそういうの好きだもんね。
Just what a fucking change of pace is all I'm trying to say.
ほら、チョコレートのいい匂いがしてきたわよ。
I'd only eaten a few hours ago, but the delicious smell was making me hungry again. Nono was in the kitchen making a cake with Yuto and Yamazoe. I was leaning up against the wall and half-heartedly watching them. My head was still filled with thoughts of Serika. Shinjo had asked me to meet with him this morning. He had all kinds of questions. How did I find out that Onoe Serika was involved in the case? Where was she now? Who was she anyway? Shinjo had said that her family registration itself was fake. And he told me more. There was no sign that she'd ever existed until the time of the Shibuya earthquake 6 years ago. That was impossible. I remembered spending time with her. Well... I could clearly remember going to AH General Hospital to look for Amy with her, and finding Minamisawa Senri in the middle of an experiment. And I knew for a fact that Minamisawa Senri had been down in that facility before the earthquake. If she didn't exist, then what were my memories? But nothing I gave the police ended up being any real help. And... there still wasn't a warrant out for Serika's arrest. It made sense given what had happened with Ito. They probably decided they couldn't risk treating another minor as the killer and getting it wrong again. There was also the question of where Serica came from. If she had no family registration, then she practically didn't exist. And you couldn't prosecute someone who didn't exist. And on top of all of that, there was the fact that the rest of the world still didn't know about the gigalomaniacs. They were probably being as careful as possible. I said her name in my mind. She had been with me forever. She'd always taken my side. And she'd done all those terrible things for me. But then, just who was she? I mean, we know.
はい、準備 OK。
これであとは出来上がるのを待つだけですか？
I just hope that Shinjo and Kunasato are able to piece together the truth or something before things get bad again.
ねえねえ、どのくらいで出来上がるの？
そうね、1時間くらいかしら。
1時間か。
Oh, don't worry, Yuto. I'm very impatient.
ただ待ってるのも退屈だし、せっかくだからどこか行こうか。
いいの？
ええ、みんな一緒ならいいんじゃないかしら。ねえ、タクル。
I wasn't listening.
みんなでどこかに行こうかって言ってたの。
どこかって？
その辺をブラブラよ。ねえ、タクルも行くでしょ？
僕は。
タクル兄ちゃんも行こうよ。いいでしょ？
There wasn't much point in sitting here and being gloomy.
わかった。一緒に行くよ。
I mean, I like being gloomy.
やったー！ウキ姉ちゃん、準備しよう。
Yuto was really excited. I'd been keeping him inside lately out of fear that Serica might come. He was probably eager to get out of the house. Maybe it would be a good change of pace. Oh, I hope. I hope nothing, terrible happens just yet. I love the peacefulness, but at the same time, I'm just eagerly waiting to see what crazy fucking shit is gonna go down. Nono, Yuto, and Uki came back holding cones piled high with ice cream. The color of the ice cream was so bright it stung my eyes.
はい、これタクルの分。
She offered me one that was glistening with a thick coating of chocolate. Damn, we're just gonna enjoy sweets today, and we have a delusion. Hold up, wait a minute. I don't remember there being anything about a delusion here. I need to look this up real quick. Because I don't know if this will, like, change anything. Like, I don't know if we could just, choose positive or negative and we're totally good here. So, let's see. Yeah, it says nothing about it. And there's no bad endings, so I guess we can just go for whatever. It says here in the remaining delusions, in the fourth route, there is only one delusion trigger if you have not already selected both the positive and negative options. So I guess we can just do one now, and maybe after the route we can come back and do the other one. So I guess we'll start with positive. I took the cone from Nono's hands.
チョコとバニラでよかったよね。
Nono knew exactly what I liked.
おいしい。
そうでしょ？
甘くて美味しいね。
っていうか、ケーキも焼いてるのに甘いものばっかでいいのか？
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
甘いものは別腹って言うでしょ。
Actually, you can. You can easily get cavities by doing that. And you can also get fat. And it's just unhealthy. Hadn't she gotten mad when I bought those yatkets? Or however you pronounce that, the chocolate. But, well, if it made everybody happy, and Nono too. Oh, hey, an achievement, a positive person. Third time.
おいしい。おいしくて、身も心もとろけちゃいそう。
I think we actually just got the achievement for getting all the positive delusions in the game. Which means if I did everything correctly, which means I probably didn't, maybe if I go back and get that negative delusion, that would be the last delusion to get. Maybe. If I missed one, then oh well, I don't know where it's at. Nono devoured the ice cream and went right for the cone. She looked like she was in a state of ecstasy.
美味しかった。
なんだよ、もう食べちゃったのか？
でも
She looked longingly at mine.
何？
She gonna deep throat our fucking
こんなのじゃ
cream?
足りない。もっと欲しいな。
Nono peered into my eyes, her cheeks flushed red. She was fidgeting and rubbing her thighs together. It was kind of a turn on. What the hell? Is she getting horny over, like, ice cream? My heart skipped a beat. I stopped licking the cone and gulped down my saliva.
ねえ、タクルの舐めちゃダメ？
僕のって、新しいの買ってくればいいだろ。
違うの。私が舐めたいのはそっち。
Nono looked at it and poked her tongue out. The pink flesh poked longingly through her pretty lips.
すっごく美味しそう。
Well, this is
ねえ、
a very weird one.
それペロペロしてちゃダメ？
いいけど、ユウトたちが見てる。
いいわよ。私は見られたって平気。
What the fuck, dude? That was that okay? No. But Nono was practically begging for it.
そこまで言うなら仕方ないな。でも、ちょっとだけだぞ。
She gave me a seductive smile and brought her face close. Then she licked it with the tip of her tongue. What the fuck, dude? Maybe it's a good thing we're coming to a close with all these delusions, you know? Why is she kissing the ice cream? Her tongue moved from the tip down across the rest of it. Of course, that's how we're wording it.
タクルの味がする。
And of course, context is beautiful. Her eyes were looking up at me from below.
ねえ、もっとちょうだい。
I saw her tongue flick seductively for a moment before her tiny mouth swallowed the whole thing. Of course, of course. Wow, I like this game. Totally safe for work. A smooth, clear liquid dribbled from her mouth, of course. Her tongue flicked about and wrapped around the whole thing. This is ice cream we're talking about too, right? Why is he moaning? Pleasure signals stimulated my brain one after another, and all I could do, and it was all I could do to stay standing, excuse me.
タクルももっとしてもいいよね。
I wish you wouldn't, but sure.
クルス。
What the fuck? The walls of my reason collapsed. My head shook up and down.
じゃあ声に出して言って。タクルが望むなら私は舐めてあげるから。
もっと舐めて。
聞こえないよ。
Bro, if we say
舐め
it
てください、お願いします。
if we say it louder, we're gonna say it outside of the delusion.
わかった。ちゃんと言ってくれたご褒美してあげるね。
I didn't like that. Her crimson lips opened again and she slowly put it in her mouth.
karana yabe.
What the fuck, dude? What the hell's going on? What? Why are they looking at us? No! No! No, they know!
ねえ、のの姉ちゃん、タクル兄ちゃんどうしちゃったの？
大丈夫。いつものことよ。
Oh, man. I should have chosen... I should have chose negative. I think that would have been better. What was I thinking about doing this in the middle of the street? Oh, man.
結局なんだかんだでお金使っちゃったな。
After we'd bought everything we needed, we'd run through quite a bit of cash.
これは明日から節約生活ね。
Okay, we start tomorrow. Time to spend today. Nono sounded kind of happy. She'd been like that for as long as I'd known her. The worse a problem got, the more excited she was to solve it. That was one of the reasons everyone counted on her so much. It was a phone call, but my phone was silent in my pocket, which meant...
ごめん、私。
Nono took her phone out and looked at the screen and then put it back in her bag, excuse me.
誰？
気になる？
違うよ。出なかっただろ。だから。
川原くんからよ。
川原くん？
うん。時々かかってくるの。いつから学校に来るんだって。
なんだよ。
別に。
Weirdo.
あ、そうだ。ねえ、そういえばさっきのお店で福引きの券もらったわよね。
Oh yeah? Can't wait to not win.
ああ、そういや。
多分この辺でやってると思うんだけど。
Normally I never paid attention to things, even if I got them, but Nono always did. She was always kind of like a housewife that way.
あれじゃないですか？
Yamazoe pointed to a small tent where a man was outside yelling.
ほら、タクルも行こ
う。僕はいいよ。あんなの昔から当たったことなんてないし、尾上はよく当たってたけど。
I remembered Sarika again.
もうそんなこと言わないで。ね。ほら、一頭は最新型ポケコンだって。
Nono had very clearly heard what I said, but she was talking like nothing was unusual at all. That made me feel a lot better.
お願いします。
お嬢さんたち兄弟かい？
わかります？
そりゃあそれだけ仲良さそうならわかるってもんだ。
ねえタクル、私たち家族に見えるって。
Yeah.
でも嬉しいけどちょっと残念かな。
はい、じゃあ全部で4回ね。
はい、4回だからちょうど1人1回ね。タクルもやるのよ。
わかったよ。
Sad? Why? Oh, I know why.
それじゃあ最初は僕やってもいいかな？
ええ、どうぞ。
じゃあ行くね。
I feel like we're gonna win. I have a good feeling. Actually, you know what? We're not gonna win.
残念です。
僕2等の携帯ゲーム欲しかったのに。
ああいうのは当たらないようにできてるんだよ。そもそもちゃんと当たりが入っているのかどうかもわからないんだ。
そうなの？のの姉ちゃん。
そんなことないわよ。ただそんなに簡単には当たらないでしょうね。でも私はこれで十分。
Nono patted her 24 rolls of toilet paper and smiled. You know what? Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's free groceries. Yamazoe and Yuto laughed. Only then did I remember that at night Yuto always used to cry or suddenly break out screaming. The trauma he'd experienced during the earthquake had given him scotophobia, the fear of darkness, excuse me. But ever since we'd moved, that didn't happen. Even after he'd lost his sister and adoptive father. Of course, part of that was due to Yuto's own efforts, but it wasn't possible to get over a phobia just by working hard. A lot of it was probably thanks to Nono. Nono had become more of a mother than ever. She was looking out for everyone. That's why Yuto and Yamazoe were able to smile.
はい、タクル。炊飯器で焼いたケーキ食べるでしょ?
We ever gonna eat like real food?
マウンテンビューがいいのよね。
Oh yeah.
ユウトはミルクで、ウキちゃんは紅茶。
Mountain View, that's a real drink.
さ、Nono.
When I said her name, she stopped what she was doing and turned around. And smiled.
まだ、そうやって呼んでくれるんだ。
当たり前だろ。ノノは、ノノなんだし。
The days passed peacefully. Why did I want to be so special? I didn't need to be special. I didn't have to be special. You got that right, bud. Kirisu had always told me that, so why did I only notice now? How stupid had I been? Well, I'm pretty stupid. Several more peaceful days passed. Shinjo would contact me once in a while, but all he ever asked was if Serika had contacted me. That meant that the police hadn't found her either. I couldn't let my guard down, but nobody was capable of staying on edge 24 hours a day. And with everything that lay ahead of me, I couldn't live in fear of Serika forever. I had some savings built up, but it wasn't enough for 4 people to subsist on forever. I checked the employment sites for a good part-time job. Customer service was out of the question. So was anything involving physical labor. I looked for something that dealt with information, but of course I couldn't find anything. Part of me thought about asking Kunasato if she needed help with Shibuya news, but from the look of her apartment, she probably didn't have enough money to hire me either. No, wait. If we put more ads or something on the Shibuya news page and tried to get some affiliate income... Suddenly there was a knock at the door.
Takuru.
Nono was in the center of the room sewing something. She tensed up. Only a few people knew about this apartment. Or could it be Serika? I silently motioned for the others to gather in the corner of the room and softly went to the door and reached out for the knob. But before I could open it, the door flung open from the outside. What the hell?
なんだ、開いてるじゃん。
は?
Peeking through the door were Arimura and... I guess the gang's all here.
有村さん？それに和樹も。あ、チャオス。お久しぶりっすね、先輩方。
お前ら、何しに来たんだよ。
あらまたこらまた。全然学校に来ない上連絡すらくれない先輩方の様子を見に来た可愛い後輩2人に向かってずいぶんなご挨拶じゃないっすか？
いや、それには事情が。
I guess we did kind of neglect them.
なるほど。ふむふむ。ここが先輩方の愛の巣ってわけですか。
Arimura grinned wickedly as she stared at the room.
愛の巣って何言ってるの？私たちは家族みんなで。ああ、とにかく上がっていいっすか？お邪魔します。
She came inside without waiting for an answer or even taking off her shoes. She never did listen to what anybody had to say.
というわけで、遠慮なくくつろいでね、花。
有村は少しぐらい遠慮しろよ。
ああ、お構いなく。私、安物のお茶でも気にしませんから。
This girl.
それにしても、これはまた思った以上のボロさですね。 世界遺産ものですよ。
Aw, man, come on. At this point, I was wasting my time even trying to say anything.
ユウトもウキも元気そうで何よりね。
お久しぶりです。おかげさまで。
The two of them looked relieved to see the identities of our sudden visitors.
まったく、二人とも相変わらずね。安心したわ。
Nono must have been happy to see them because she had a big grin on her face.
学校の方はどう？先輩たちが来ない以外は普段通りぼちぼちですよ。ねえ、花。
I didn't really care about school, but Nono was the student council president. It must have been bothering her.
っていうか、お前らどうやってここが分かったんだ？
あ、やっぱ気になります？それ。
I'd been trying to keep it a secret, so of course I did.
聞いたんですよ、新庄さんに。
It turned out to be a simple matter.
最初は知らないってとぼけてましたけど、私にそんな嘘ついても無駄だっていうのに、ほんと学習しないんだから、あの刑事さん。
So he'd had no choice but to tell her then.
ってことは、人通りのことは？
いやー、やられましたよ。まさか私の能力を知ってて、のらりくらりとかわされてたとはね。敵ながらあっぱれです。
I knew instantly that she was talking about Serica. Not saying the name was probably her way of trying to make me feel better. She was more delicate in things like that than you might imagine, or you might expect, same thing, because she'd spent so much time worrying about other people, or what other people were thinking.
それにしても、先輩も物好きっすね。よりによって隣が。
Uh-oh. There was a pounding on the wall before she could finish her sentence.
ダメよ。見た目通り壁薄いんだから、全部聞こえちゃうわよ。聞こえちゃうっていうか、聞いてるんじゃないですか？ほら、コップとか壁にくっつけて。
Yep, there it is. More pounding. Maybe Arimoto was right. Oh no.
こら、カズキも対抗心燃やして壁殴ろうとしないの。
Just having the two of them here made this place feel like the club room.
そうそう、それでですね、私たちが今日やってきた目的はですね。
Arimoto suddenly stood up and left the room.
お？ねえ、花も手伝ってよ。
Now it was Kazuki's turn to disappear. The two of them carried a large object into the room.
ちょっと、これって物質の。
It was the map we'd used to track the case.
なんでわざわざこれをここに？
花がどうしても持っていくって言うんだもん。
和樹が？
先輩たちが後ろでワイワイやっててくれないと、演数やってても張り合いがないんだって。でも先輩たちは来ないでしょ？だったらこっちから出向くしかないってなわけで、これからはここが物質ということで一つ。
How selfish could you be? Maybe someone else might let her get away with that, but...
一つって見てわかるでしょ。ここにいきなりそんな大きなものを持ってこられても困るわ。
See, the Empress wouldn't.
でももう持ってきちゃったんで、あとは捨てるなりなんなり好きにしてください。
Nono sighed and shrugged her shoulders. She must have realized she was wasting her time. Harimura Hinae could be a very scary woman to deal with.
それでは反対もないようなので、ここに碧峰学園新聞部出張所の発足式を行いたいと思います。
Harimura took out some Mountain View from the fridge and began to hand it to everyone. I didn't even feel up to complaining anymore.
皆さん準備はいいですか？
Kazuki applauded mechanically, a blank expression on her face.
それでは乾杯
And nobody else said cheers.
乾杯です。
Never mind.
乾杯。
Plastic bottles hitting each other didn't exactly make for a good toast.
どうしたの有村さん。
宮代先輩とクルス先輩はここで毎晩しとねを共にしてるわけですよね。
しとねって変な言い方しないで。共同生活をしてるのよ。ほら兄弟なんだから普通でしょ。それに優斗とウキちゃんも一緒だし。
Oh man, she's laughing at us. Kazuki must have found Arimura's words funny because she was holding her stomach and laughing. I never did understand her sense of humor.
なるほど。
Even after her
4人で
route,
一つ
I
屋根
don't.
の下ですか。楽しそうですね。そうだ花、私たちも一緒にここで暮らそうか。
はあ
What was she talking about?
な、僕たちは別に遊びでここに暮らしているわけじゃないぞ。
そうよ。それにこの部屋にこれ以上人が増えたらとてもじゃないけど暮らしていけないわ。
そうですか。寝るところなら何とでもなるし、みんなでお金を出し合えば家賃だって一人頭換算少なくて済みますよ。
For some reason, Kazuki was nodding rapidly in agreement.
そんなこと言ってもだな。
それにほら見てくださいよ、今のこの状態。
Arimura stood in the middle of the room and spun around, her arms outstretched like a stage actress.
ね？
何がね、なんだ。
もうニブチンさんなんだからいいですか。今この部屋の中には男子が2人、女子が4人。いわば宮代先輩のほぼハーレム状態。
Practically means it isn't, though.
おい、お前たち。
Kunasato burst through the door and screamed.
隣で騒ぐなと何度も言っているだろうが、いい加減に。
いいところに。ねえ、あなたも一緒にどうですか？
一緒に？
また話聞いてたんでしょ。みんなで一緒に暮らしませんかって話ですよ。
お前、頭に虫でも湧いているんじゃないか。
Probably.
どうして私がお前たちと。
生活費楽になりますけど。
She fell silent. Wait, was she seriously considering it?
冗談じゃない。どうして私がお前たちと共同生活を送らなければならないんだ。バカも休み言え。
See, she shot the idea right down.
とにかくこれ以上やかましく騒ぐんじゃない。次に騒いだら脳に電極ぶっ刺してやるからな。
Kunasato slammed the door shut loud enough to bother the other neighbors. It didn't seem like she was joking.
ほんと相変わらず冗談の通じない人。
お前たちが無駄に騒ぐからだろ。
失敬な。無駄なんかじゃないっすよ。私たちにはれっきとした重大な用が。実はね、今日来た理由はもう一つあって。
Oh yeah? Something important? Arimura slapped her hands together as if she'd only just remembered.
伊藤先輩のお見舞い行きません？
Oh yeah, Ito, remember that guy? We'd heard that Ito had been released, but I didn't know that he'd recovered enough to meet with people. He was still considered a person of interest in the case, so they were refusing most visitors, and Arimura said that we could get Shinjo to let us in. For his part, Shinjo probably hoped that we could get some information from Ito. And if Arimura was there, we could tell if Ito was telling the truth. I wanted to know how Ito was doing, too. We decided to have Yuto and Yamazoe stay with Momose while we were gone. She had already taken care of Yamazoe before, so we knew it would be safe. Ito's room was on the top floor of the hospital, and there were detectives stationed around the floor, but Shinjo must have sent word because they let us straight through.
Ito.
Ito looked up at us from the bed and grinned just a little.
Miyashiro. それにみんなも来てくれたのか?
So let me get this all straight. This is the guy that, you know, the police have had interest in. Basically, with everything that went down with him, you know, going crazy and killing Yui, obviously. He was released, but the police still think that he's the bad guy, and now the police are in trouble because it's a minor that's now, or was originally pleading guilty, but now is pleading innocent. Is that what I'm getting out of this? Or am I getting something mixed up?
で、どうだ? 調子は?
Whatever. Ito is Ito.
か。体調は悪くない。と思う。
I'd expected Ito to be barely conscious. But his color was good and he didn't seem to be in a lot of pain. But...
思ったより元気そうでよかった。あ、これお見舞い。果物くらいは食べられるんでしょ?
ああ、悪いな。気を使ってもらっちまって。
It felt like the energy that had made Ito himself had vanished.
それで、
I started to talk and then fell silent. From what I'd heard, Ito had lost all of his memories of the incident. I wanted to see if that was true, but how to ask?
ゆいちゃんのことだろ? 覚えてるのか? 一応な。刑事さんにも聞かれてるしさ。
I couldn't tell if he was smiling or crying.
ごめんな。俺がちゃんと守ってやれれば、ゆいちゃんだって助かったかもしれないのにな。え？
伊藤くん、ゆいが助かったかもって、どういうこと？
だって、俺の目の前で殺されたんだろ？彼女。
What was going on?
悪いな。本当に覚えてないんだよ。俺、この数週間の間、何があったのか。
Does he have fake memories or something?
なんというのか、ありがちな言い方だけど、もやがかかったみたいっていうかさ。だから正直、なんで自分がこんなところにいるのかもわからねえんだよ。
I looked at Arimura. She nodded silently. That meant he was telling the truth. Suddenly, Ito looked around the room in surprise.
あれ？そういえば、尾上はどうしたんだ？なんか静かだと思ったら、あいつがいないからか。何かあったのか？いや。
ちょっとね。学校で居残りだって。
あいつらしいや。
伊藤先輩にもよろしく伝えてくれって言ってましたよ。
そうか。まあ、顔見られないのは残念だけど、そのうち来るよう言っといてくれよ。病室ってのはどうにも退屈でさ。
If he didn't remember, there was no need to force him to.
伊藤くん。
悪い。久しぶりにいろいろ思い出そうとしたら、ちょっと疲れたみたいだ。
そう。それじゃあ私たち、そろそろおいとまするわ。
わざわざ来てくれたのに、悪いな。いや、いいんだ。気にするな。
Ito sank down into the bed and smiled at us weakly as we left the room. Unfortunately, it was true that he didn't remember anything. No, he hadn't just forgotten. He'd replaced the bad memories with ones that were better for him. But he was a victim too, in a way. It wasn't right to blame him and force him to confront the truth. I felt conflicted about it, though. Would Nono and I ever truly be able to be friends with him again? I wondered about that as I headed for home. Yeah, the problem I have is, you know, we're kind of forgetting about the fact that, there's still the whole mind control thing that they're not considering. I don't know if that's something that they had realized. I don't know if they know about Sarika's power at this point. I think Kirisu does, yeah, the whole mind reading thing. So, obviously brainwashing was used and they know that, but why aren't they considering that, you know, that there is another antagonist? I don't think they'd ever be able to piece it or connect it to Sakuma, but the fact that they're not bringing that up kind of concerns me. I feel like we're missing something. Nothing happened for the next 2 days. Sarika was still leaving us alone. It might be time for me to head back to school. But with Yuto and Yamazoe to worry about, maybe it was still too soon. And then she showed up again.
チャオッス先輩方。あ、ウキッチもユートッチも。
Interesting nicknames.
チャオスです。です。
She'd won Yuto and Yamazoe over too.
それで今日は何しに来たんだよ。
あらまあ、ずいぶんとご挨拶ですね。この前言ったじゃないすか。ここが碧峰学園新聞部出張所だって。
The corkboard was already situated behind us. I couldn't see it from here, but I would if I looked around. It made the whole place feel cramped.
部活はそれぞれの自主性に任せる。だからわざわざここに来る必要はない。そもそも有村、お前文芸部だろ。
いやー、文芸部で培った文章作成のスキルを新聞部でも役立てればと。それに今日は頼まれ物があってわざわざ来たんですからね。感謝される言われはあれど、文句言われる筋合いはないはずです。えへん。
Hanimura puffed out her chest proudly.
頼まれ物？
残念ながら宮代先輩ではなくクルス先輩に。
私に？何かしら？
さあ、ただこれを渡してくれって川原先輩が。
川原くんが？
The fuck? Just as Nono took a stack of handouts from Hanimura, her phone began to ring. She looked at the screen and ignored it. I didn't intend to look, but from where I was sitting, I caught a glimpse of it. It was Kawahara, excuse me, the person we were just talking about. Poor guy.
いいんすか？
後で折り返すわ。
生徒会関係のことかも？
それはちゃんと全員に連絡して滞りなくやってもらってるから大丈夫よ。
What did he want then? Just answer the fucking phone. Nono's phone rang again. Oh, now somebody's at the door. Great. And at the same time, there was a knock at the door. If that was Kawahara on the phone, who was at the door? Was it Sarika?
Takuru.
Tension filled the room. With the phone ringing, we couldn't pretend that no one was here. Should we answer or not? Just as I finally decided to stand up and answer it.
クルス、いるんだろ？僕だ、川原だ。開けてくれ。
Oh man. It was Kawahara, the boy who was calling on the phone. Why did he call if he was here?
突然訪ねてきてすまない。でも、こうでもしないと会えないと思ったから。
Kawahara bowed as he came inside.
もしかしてさっきの電話は。
イルスでも使われると困るからな。悪いとは思ったけど、確かめさせてもらった。
In a cheap apartment like this, you could hear the phone ringing from the hallway. He must have figured that out. But why did he go through all this trouble? Maybe Serika was controlling him, just like she'd done with Ito? Either way, it would be best to be careful. Okay, so I guess they think that Serika is both mind controlling and mind reading. Gotcha.
それから気づいているだろうが、有村に頼み事をしたのも、クルスたちの住んでいる場所を知るためだ。そのことについても謝る。
そうだったんですか？待って、それじゃあ私、つけられて。
She evidently hadn't noticed. I whispered in her ear.
おい、嘘はわかるんじゃなかったのか？
だってこれ持ってってくれって頼まれただけで、それだけなら嘘じゃないし。
What a useless power. Not entirely. Just depends on like when and how it's used.
川原くん、どうしてそんなことを？
Did he just like really want to see Kirisu? Like I know he's got a freaking boner for her and everything, but like would he really go through all that, you know, effort? Nono glanced at Yuto and Yamazoe, who were shaking in fear in the corner of the room.
決まってるだろ。クルスが学校に来ないからだ。
だからそれに関しては言ったじゃない。今は大変な時だからって。
大変なのはわかる。でも、だからっていつまでもこうやって休んでるのはおかしいだろ。
I mean, he's got a point.
それにはいろいろと事情があるのよ。
事情？だったら、その事情ってやつを説明してくれよ。
それは。
She fell silent. She certainly couldn't tell him that Serika might be after her life.
俺には相談できないことなのか？
ごめん。
もしかして、そいつのせいじゃないだろうな。
Come on, Kawahara. I thought we were supposed to be good now. Kawahara looked at me. Oh, come on, dude.
そうか。やっぱり宮代のせいなんだな。また宮代がクルスを巻き込んでるんだろ。だから学校に来られないんだな。そうだな。そうなんだろ。
Bro, what about that night, you know, when we were working on the festival together and we were just hella chilling and everything, you know? I thought we were good, bro. Come on.
いや。
I wanted to say something back, but I couldn't. It was partially my fault after all. Serika had done all this because she thought it would make me happy, which meant that the reason we were stuck here was my fault.
おい宮代。俺は言ったな。クルスを巻き込むなと。いや。違う
の川原くん。タクルのせいじゃないの。
だったらなんで来られないんだよ。
それは家族のことだから。だから川原くんには。
家族って言ったってどうせ本物の家族じゃないだろ。
Well, Kawahara is quite a senseless fucking boy. Come on, dude. I could see Yuto freeze in the corner of the room. Yamazoe was next to him, rubbing him gently on the back. Kawahara hadn't noticed the change that had overtaken the rest of the room. He was still talking. I think he needs to leave.
宮代だって、今一緒に住んでる奴らだって、所詮は家族ごっこだろ。そもそも付き合いなら、俺たちの方が長いはずじゃないか。
やめて。
なあ、子供の頃俺たちいつも一緒だっただろ。俺とクルスと、それから南沢と。俺はさ、あの頃から俺はクルス、お前のことが好きだったんだよ。
Oh, come on, don't act surprised. It was so obvious. Another shockwave went through the room. It was a sudden confession of love. Of course, even I knew that Kawahara was in love with Nono. But I didn't expect him to say it in front of so many people. Even Arimura was stunned into silence.
もう一度言う、クルス。俺は君のこと。
待って川原くん。その話はまた違う時に。
いや、証人もいることだし、 この際だからきちんと言っておく。俺は君が好きだ、クルス。
川原くん。
なんでそんな困った顔するんだよ。
だって。
お前だって分かってただろ。俺がお前のこと好きだって。
それは。
子供の頃だって俺は本当はいつだってお前と二人でいたかったんだ。南様の存在も邪魔だった。こいつどこかへ行ってくれればいいのにって思ってた。
God, dude, this is not how you're gonna win this woman's heart. I'm sorry to say. Like, I'm super, super happy you're telling the truth. And, you know, God bless America and your soul and everything else. But, dude, you are just fucking everything up in terms of any chances you had, which were, like, 0 to begin with.
どこへ行くにも千里も一緒に千里も一緒にって。俺がどれだけあいつがいなくなればいいって思ってたかわかるか。
Nona's face twisted in pain. It must have hurt to hear him talk about her friend like this. Normally Kawahara would have picked up on that. But after coming out in front of so many people and saying that he liked her, blood must have rushed to his head.
やっとだ。やっとあいつが南沢がいなくなってくれたと思ったのに。そしたら今度は家族だって。冗談じゃない。宮代なんかより俺の方がずっとお前のこと知ってる。お前のこと分かってやってる。
Well, you don't know about her power.
なあ、クルス。
Kawahara looked straight into Nono's eyes. I could see that his eyes were a little bloodshot.
もう一度言う。俺はお前のこと好きだ。俺の気持ち受け入れてくれるよな。
No, she doesn't, buddy. I'm sorry. Like, it hurts, I know, but I think you need to leave. Nono glanced around the room looking upset as everyone watched in silence. Finally, she frowned and bit her lip.
川原くんの気持ちは嬉しい。
You see, when a girl starts a sentence like that in response to that sort of thing, you're getting rejected hard.
それじゃあ。
でもごめんなさい。私、川原くんの気持ち受け取れない。
どうして？
Kawahara's voice rose in anger.
どうしてだよ。宮代か？こんな奴のどこがいいんだ。
そういうところよ。
は？
タクルは私の弟よ。そうやって弟のこと悪く言われて喜ぶ姉がいると思う？
弟だって赤の他人だ。
でも私にとっては大事な家族なの。
No.
彼女の千里のことだってそう。私は別に彼女のことを憐れんでたわけじゃない。だってあの子は私の大切な友達だもの。それにあの子はもう死んでしまったのよ。死んだ友達のこと悪く言うなんて。川原くん、あなたどうかしてる。
Yeah, that's actually really fucked up. Like, out of everything that he said, that was probably like one of the most fucked up things he could say. Kawahara looked like he was about to say something, but then he closed his mouth in frustration.
お願いよ。今は帰って。
クルス。
お願いだから帰って。少し頭を冷やして。そうしたらいつもの川原くんに戻ってくれるって信じてるから。
わかったよ。今日のところは帰るよ。
No, you'll leave permanently. I don't think you're welcomed here, like, anymore. Or at all. You never were. He headed for the door.
くそ!
And smashed it shut as he cursed. Well, that was an event. The tension drained from the room and I could finally take a breath.
ごめんね、みんな。 嫌な思いをさせて。優斗も怖かったよね。
僕はのの姉ちゃんが断ってくれてよかったって。私もあの人苦手です。
It didn't seem like Kawahara was very popular. Well, not among this family. Not that I didn't know why.
タクルもごめん。
いや、僕は言われるのは慣れてるから。
もう。そうだ、お茶入れよ。ね、気分変えましょう。
The tiny room was soon filled with the scent of British tea, and peace finally returned. Except... Oh no, something came up there that she's concerned about. I can tell, bro.
いえ。
Arimura would sometimes look at Nono as if she was thinking about something. Somebody stated a lie that bothered her. And then the next day, oh dude, what's happening in the next day? Oh man, I guess we're gonna have to find out in the next episode. Shit, dog, that kind of sucks. Okay, low-key, it actually does suck because despite recording for like almost 2 hours, this was a lot of fun. I've been digging this, like, hold up, I'm stretching. I was literally sitting here for like an hour and a half, or a little over an hour and a half. Despite the peacefulness and everything that was going on there, it really just made you wonder and continue to ask questions. I really feel like this is just totally different than what we've experienced out of the previous 2 routes, solely because of this being so related to the common route, or at least the main plot, excuse me. So this has been very interesting so far, and I'm very excited to continue on. I can't see what happens next. I feel like we're really building up to things getting crazy, or at least something happening. Something's going to come up at some point, and I think next time it's going to come up. I feel like there was something else that Kawahara wanted to say, but he held back on it, and I felt like something was either said by Kirisu or Kawahara that concerned Arimura. So I guess we'll have to see what's going on there, if anything. Definitely something's up with Arimura. She knows something. She knows something, and hopefully we find out what that something is next time. So thank you guys for watching this longer episode. I made it a little longer because the previous 2 were a little shorter than my usual hour, so hopefully that makes up for it. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.